The Equality Act 2010 offers statutory rights to employees, workers, and agents, and qualifying staff with protected characteristics. Example: disabilities, race, sex, religion, and sexual orientation. Behind this act is the simple yet powerful message that all qualified people should have an equal opportunity to work and be treated with respect and dignity at the workplace. Employment discrimination. The Equality Act 2010 makes it unlawful to discriminate in all employment practices such as recruitment, firing, hiring, training, job assignments, promotions, pay, benefits, layoffs, leave, or other employment-related activities. It is also unlawful for an employer to retaliate against you for asserting your rights under the Equality Act 2010. The Act also protects you if you are a victim of discrimination because of your family, business, social, or other relationship or association with an individual with a disability. Definition of a disability. The Act defines a disabled person as a person who has a disability if he or she has a physical or mental impairment which has a substantial and long-term adverse effect on his or her ability to carry out normal day-to-day activities. In essence, the burden is on you to show that you satisfy this definition. The Equality Act defines specific major life activities as caring for oneself, performing manual tasks, seeing, hearing, eating, sleeping, walking, standing, lifting, bending, speaking, breathing, learning, reading, concentrating, thinking, communicating, and working are all included. In addition, the Equality Act actually lists major bodily functions that should be covered by the Act. Functions of the immune system, normal cell growth, and digestive, bowel, bladder, neurological, brain, respiratory, circulatory, endocrine, and reproductive functions. The Act specifically mentions that the major bodily functions and major life activities that are listed are not the only activities covered, and that the Act is not limited to these activities. A one-time ailment, such as a broken bone or pneumonia, is an exception to the rule and is not covered under the Act. In addition, employees who are addicted to illegal drugs are not covered by the Act. The ruling also made clear that medical science that assists an individual with a disability does not preclude them coverage under the Act. For instance, while medication for heart disease or Parkinson's disease or prosthetic leg might greatly assist a disabled person, these adjustments cannot be used to determine that the person can perform major life activities. In addition, disabilities that are episodic or in remission, such as lupus, are to be assessed in their active state when determining coverage under the Act. Employees who need ordinary contacts or eyeglasses to correct vision are not considered disabled and therefore not covered by the Act. Perceptions. The Act also states that a disabled person cannot be discriminated against due to perceptions about their disability, whether or not the person actually has a disability. For instance, a deaf person cannot be denied a promotion because their manager believes that they won't be able to communicate well in a management position. Another example would be denying a job applicant with facial disfigurement for a sales position because the interviewer believed that it would be uncomfortable for customers to see the applicant. Reasonable adjustments. The law requires that employers make adjustments for disabled workers so they may have equal opportunities in the workplace. An adjustment is a change in the work environment or in the way things are usually done. If the change is an undue hardship to the employer, then they are exempt. However, most accommodations are not very expensive and are easy to implement. They can be as simple as changing the office furniture in a workstation or making a work schedule more flexible, far less expensive than the huge cost of replacing an employee. Most adjustments can be satisfied by altering a workstation, adjusting a work schedule, or buying special assisting equipment or devices. The Equality Act 2010 states that employers do not have to provide adjustments for an employee who is perceived to have a disability but who does not actually have a disability. The Equality Act 2010 states that employers must offer adjustments to applicants during the interviewing process. The interviewing location must be accessible to disabled employees. A qualified candidate is defined as a person who can perform the essential functions of the job with or without reasonable adjustments. No qualified candidate can be denied employment simply because of his or her disability. An up-to-date and accurate job description that explicitly spells out the essential and non-essential functions of the job must be maintained. Essential functions are the core functions and responsibilities of the position. In other words, the reason the job exists. Non-essential functions are the secondary or marginal responsibilities that are not important functions of the job.